Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tech Down Over. I'm Harold Muliati, and I'm joined today by Geoff Blanchard. How are you doing, Geoff?
We're just trying out my new zoom on the camera. Oh, look, it's zooming out. There. Now it's zooming back in. No.
Yeah, it's the old sneaker zoom, as they call it.
The old 2-foot zoom.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get started.
So, Geoff, we were talking a bit about, I think we got started talking about it because we were talking about the lockdown, and you were mentioning that, you had video footage, photos, that sort of thing that, you just hadn't gotten around to editing, and having the sort of enforced hiatus from going out and actually taking footage, you were able to edit some things that you hadn't before.
Yeah, well, I've been going through a lot of the footage, and the problem is I still film a lot, but you have the problem you just never get round to doing it. Whereas if somebody else gives you footage that you have no interest in whatsoever, you have a bigger you actually do it, you actually edit it and enjoy doing it because it's not yours. So you don't care about the output. You just think, oh, gee, that looks good, that's good, but you don't care if it's a silly thing to be filming. You say, well, that's not my problem, it's somebody else's. So, you enjoy doing that. But when you do your own, you think, oh, I'll do that. Oh, that looks a bit silly. No, that doesn't look too good. But.
And I think sometimes you also get a bit of the closeness issue, or especially if you're editing something right after you shot it. If you just spent hours, shooting something, then you can get the problem where because you were looking at so much, you actually have a harder time seeing certain problems or mistakes that you made, and then...
Well, one of the rules I follow is one of the things somebody I heard them saying about video editing when you're doing your own stuff. It says, never be afraid to throw away your best video. Because that's the problem. It might have taken you 4 hours to get that or do that, but if it just doesn't work, get rid of it. But some people put rubbish in because they want to show people all the trouble they went to do this time-lapse video of all this or something that might not be quite right, or it doesn't match in. It might be perfect, but they have to throw it in, and that's the thing is like with transitions and all these, they have to do all these things to show people that they know how to do it sometimes, whereas some of the best things are the most subtle things out there. So I have been going back to some old footage and then trying to and putting things out. And let's face it, the only thing you can do worse is, like I have been doing, is not putting anything out there. So, so you can always do it. If it's rubbish, hey, but there's nothing out there at all. But it's just fun to do. And like my things are not professional things, but just fun to do.
And one thing that I think kind of helps with getting yourself to that mindset of only keeping the stuff that actually works when it comes to footage and that sort of thing. One thing that Rick tends to have me do when I'm editing videos here at Relate is, he says, what you do is you actually start you start with the music. You get music that will fit the thing, and you cut the music so that it's at a good length and where it'll catch people's attention, and it's got enough interesting parts in there. And then you figure out how you're going to put in the stuff, because that forces you. You can't just put whatever you want in there. You have to put stuff that fits and goes with the music.
I'm glad Rick does say, because that's exactly what I do. I can be sitting there for 3 or 4 hours trying to figure out what nice bit of music will go with it. But what I do, I put the music down on there, but also I sit there and listen to the music and mark the music before I do it at points on the beat or somewhere, and then that's where it's going to change, because people just playing music and it's music. But if it's amazing how big a difference if it's on the beat and the scene changes, or just on something that's on the thing. So if all of a sudden goes quiet, and if it all fades down to nothing at that point and then comes back up again with music does. That's a good thing that, like I said, Rick said, it's the music actually helps you. If you've got a bit of music, you say, well, I can't put that in, that just doesn't match. And then it helps you tell your little bit of a story. And I saw somebody the other day, it's like putting a big, real sad music onto some little 10-year-old's birthday party. Well, it just doesn't work. Or putting that music for a little 10-year-old's birthday party on, the managing director's corporate speech. You don't. It's not the right thing. You've just got to get the right music for the right event. But
the thing that tends to kind of crack Rick and I up is that for the corporate video kind of stuff, ultimately it's up to the client. But a lot of times when we're running things, we'll give people multiple options, and a lot of times people like the things that are like very like kind of happy with the whistling and clapping and stuff, very kind of Apple commercially ish things, and it's not always terribly appropriate to what's going on. But if they like it, they like it. But it's just funny that's kind of where a lot of people's tastes seem to lie nowadays.
It's funny you should say that. There's a lot of that music around with the whistle and somebody's clicking the fingers and skipping along and doing that. You thought all happy, and you just said, yeah, there's 50 people laying in a gutter or something. No, it's not quite the appropriate thing. That it's not a happy event. It's sad what we're talking about. So just get the right music for that. So it's that's what. When music and the visuals fit really well together, and like Geoff said, when it really goes with the beat, it can make even a longer video seem really fast sometimes, where it's like people are watching it because it just pulls you through. Then it's and one thing I've been I think I said in the pre-show, one that I've been leaning towards a little bit more to the Davinci Resolve, trying to get into that bit more, because I'd always gone into that every now and then to do some color grading in there, because it still is I think it's the best one. You might be able to get great things on other ones, but you really have to be a real expert at it. But in Davinci Resolve, you can just do really great things without knowing too much about it. But it's like everything. The trick is, don't go overboard. Don't make it really vibrant and green just because you can. Just make it, but if the green was looking a bit grayish, well, make it proper green, but don't go overboard. And is that what it really looked like? No. Well, try to just make it look as nice as it was. But also I found with Davinci, one of the things I like with that, it's got also its, with the Fairlight in it, the audio side in it. But
how are you liking that? Because I actually haven't really used Fairlight a whole lot.
Well, one of the things that I like with all the Davinci things is it's all contained in the one program. Mm-hmm. I know Premiere, you can go out to Audition, you can go out to After Effects and all that, but I still sometimes have problems with losing it when it comes back or messing it up or whatever.
Definitely occasionally.
Whereas this one, it might not be as full on, but for me, it's quite good. But one of the great functions I like with the Fairlight, which you can do in Audition and other things, but you just have to know how to do it, and it takes forever to do it. One of the things you can do quite easily with that is put a voiceover over the thing, over the top of your normal audio, and it will automatically, when you talk, down the video thing. You don't have to keyframe it down. So if I'm talking, the video quality will go down, and then when I stop, it will slowly go up, and then it works on that. So so you can have your music louder, and also so if people are talking, the music will go down as well.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think they've had it for a while, but in Premiere Pro, they currently have in their, because like they have this thing called the Essential Sound panel, which is like a window that you open up, and it has a lot of audio things like that have slightly more simplified controls, so they're a little easier to get to, and they have an auto ducking feature, and they actually updated it relatively recently, so it works pretty well now. So
I was going to say maybe I'm talking out my backside and Premier's doing it because I haven't looked at it for a while, Premier. But as I said, I just know a lot of them all do it, but it was always very complicated. I watched somebody how to do it, and I thought, oh, I'll just do it manually a little bit I do, or just turn it down. I don't need it that good. But this one seems to be relatively easy to use. So.
Yeah, but the one in Premiere's Essential Sound nowadays is actually pretty easy. Like what it is you can just mark your audio layers as sound effects or music or voice, and you can tell it, how to duck which track against which one and what sensitivity, how long should it take to lower the volume and stuff, and it'll actually like generate the keyframes, and you can see on the timeline like what it's doing exactly. It works pretty well, but I mean, I imagine it probably works similarly to Fairlight's. Like I said, I haven't really used Fairlight a whole lot, so I'm not too...
But it's just one of the things, it's just awkward to get used to because everybody's used to Premiere and Audition and things like that. Just a different thing on there, but hey, I can't complain when this one's not costing me anything anyway.
I know, right? And I mean, that's the thing. Even with the paid version of Davinci Resolve, it's... well, I don't know how much it is on Australian, but it's $300 US, and that's basically a lifetime license. Like they let you get the new versions when they come out. They let you get all the updates. So that's it's still a really good deal, and you definitely get most of the stuff in the free version of Resolve. There are certain things like there's certain codecs for export and processing and it'll support in this full studio version. There's certain certain effects that they'll give you in Fusion that you don't get right off the bat in the free one. But yeah,
I'm just trying to figure out what they are because I like to support things, and I thought, well, $299 or something, if it said your money, but converting to mine's probably been nearly about $400.
Yeah.
But I thought, I don't. If I'll use it, I'll because I'd like to like them to keep going. But I thought if there's some good things that I can use on it, but at the moment it just does so much. Like a lot of these ones where they give you the free version, you'd be able to, put the things in, but you can't. You can't fade it black or something obvious that you
something
need.
Something really egregious, right?
Or else, yes, you can export all your videos as long as they're no more than 35 seconds.
And it's got a watermark in the middle of the screen.
Well, what's the, I'm using Wirecast, and remember, the Wirecast, this is a Wirecast demonstration or something. The little woman used to have the camera, this is a Wirecast demonstration.
An audio watermark.
Yeah, that should come through every 5 minutes or something if you don't do that. But this one, it's... but also with that, and what I like if you do get into it, it's got some, and I think this is where Blackmagic try to make their money. They've got some really cool little devices for editing, but they're also
their panels.
The cheap ones go round about $1,000, but it, like the old school. If you're into coloring all the time, there's a little color panel that's got all the little knobs. So if you just want to do the exposure, the color, all the colors, you just turn it, and people find that much easier than find, which one do I? And put the mouse over and do that. You've just got a knob. Turn the blue up, turn it down, and then I thought, if you're doing, and then they go from $1,000. I think it's up to about $80,000. Their panels, I think.
Yeah. Although I feel like nowadays, I mean, they're definitely trying to make money on that too, but they're also going a bit more into their cameras because I forget starting with which camera, but at some point they made it so that all their cameras, when you shoot in RAW, it shoots in their proprietary Blackmagic RAW, which you can only really edit with Davinci Resolve. I'm sure there's some other way to convert it, but that's how it natively works with Davinci Resolve.
And I think and that's a good thing for a company like that, because at least I suppose even if you've got just a free version, you can't say, oh, they're terrible. They're putting it in a format that nobody else supports straight away. It takes ages. Well, they're giving you something straight. They have something to work with straight away. Not like you can't. The only thing I've found that I can't handle in Davinci Resolve is my old DV footage that comes in. doesn't seem to recognize the DV footage. I can't get that, so I'll have to put it into a timeline somewhere else, just convert it over to an MOV or an MP4 or something different format. But it just doesn't like the old, it came from the old mini digital video.
Yeah, the mini DV tapes. Yeah.
Definitely won't ingest that, but as I said, but usually I can see it on the screen on the input, but it just doesn't like it. So
yeah,
but I've seen it. But hey, I can't complain. It's free. But I was just wondering, will that work in the paid version? But I still don't think it will, because it's
I
made
don't
for more.
think they have support for that. The main thing with the formats in the paid version is that they let you do stuff with H.265.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's face it, the digital video, it's about 10 years old now since anybody ever did that, I think. So if you've got footage in that, well, you can convert it to something will do it. You convert it to something else before it all dies. But that's the thing. Everything else seems to work fine in it.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier, I think before show, we were talking about using Davinci Resolve, not just as your main nonlinear editor, but also just using it as kind of an intermediate step. Like what I actually use it for a lot is what I'll do is when I start a project, I'll actually grade all of the footage using Resolve first, and either export it out of there, and then do the rest of the editing in usually Premiere. I use Premiere probably the most, but yeah, I sometimes use Resolve for editing too.
And what I do that's similar sort of thing. I put things in through Final Cut Pro, and then do the XML out and edit it back in DaVinci and do the color grading in that. And what I like, another thing, it's got you can do it in Final Cut if you have an extra for tracking things on there, which seems to be I never seem to have much luck with it myself, but maybe it's just I haven't been patient enough to do it well. But that has a tracker built into DaVinci Resolve, so you can track things and just quickly. I thought, that seems to be a bit easier, and it seems to work a little bit better. But as I said, and one thing I do like is it's got some, a bit easier for some just basic titles. Like you can go into Premiere and just write them easily, and then you can do nice basic titles and just animate them a little bit. If you don't want to do too much, you can do that. Whereas in Final Cut, there's not too much of that. There's always nice, great fly-in one, but I just sometimes just give me a couple of lines of text and let me do something.
Yeah, exactly.
And same thing like it is with Premiere, you can do that a lot easier in that. But that's why we all seem to like having Premiere as well as Final Cut and the DaVinci. It's sort of the things that you just use which one ever suits you the best. And like also what that does as well, when you load it up, it says which one do you like previous to this, Final Cut or Premiere. Yeah,
that is a nice thing about Resolve, is that they have those presets already for controls and...
Yeah, so this load up. So if you're used to doing something in this way in Final Cut, well, usually they're still the same way in DaVinci Resolve. So I thought that's quite a good one, because most of the others would never in a million years try to support the other ones. Things they'll just say, no, you do it my way because my way's best. So do that. But
yeah, and I would almost say for Resolve with getting the studio version, I mean, you could. As you said, you might just get it just to support them as a company because you like them. But I would almost say, until you really run into something that you're like, it's a wall, and you're thinking, I could do this if I had the studio version. I don't think they do give you more in the studio version, but they're kind of specific things that you may or may not need.
That's what I thought. It's more so the higher end cameras that it will support, the higher end different. I said, well, I never use that, but like you said. The great thing with that, they'll certainly tell you, you do this, you do that, click that button, it's you need that, it'll tell you. But as I said, I haven't had that yet. So.
The other thing they give you in one of the big features of Studio is the ability to collaborate with other people and have other people, or have multiple people in the same project at the same time if you have it on a Postgres on a network location or something like that. But haven't really actually used that. We haven't really used it here, even though we kind of have it set up to do that. Just because generally for our workflows, we don't like to have more than one person in a project at a time.
After I said, I saw that feature and I thought, yeah, I've never had that and never had the need or want to do that ever.
It just sounds like asking for trouble to me. Like you'll have people stepping over, stepping over each other's toes, and.
But I can see where it would be an advantage if you're a video editing house and you've 3 or 4 people working on a project that you do that. But just
that's true.
Like even you on your level. Probably say no. You just go away and give me the work on it, and just send me a file with the footage. I'll incorporate it into my project. You're not getting into my project to mess it up.
Exactly. I guess like that. You're right though. Like here we're not big enough to do that kind of stuff where that would really be a help. Because like I could see. Yeah, you're right. Like having, if you're doing big video editing kind of stuff, maybe you have a lot of timelines in there, and you might have people in different timelines and that sort of thing too. So they're not necessarily like on the same timeline and one person's dragging the handle one way and the other person's trying to drag it the other way.
You say, "Hang on, it's going green. No, he's gone blue. Green, blue. Oh no, that's Frank. Frank." Stop it! But I'm sure they'd have something in place that says, well, like I think like with e-learning with a Lectora, Lectora Online, they do the same thing with Lectora Online. But what they do is, which is quite good, you go into each a chapter, but then everybody else, if you try to go, say no, Geoff's in there, but at least you can't go and overwrite what I do, but it's. That's always but I'm always would still be
that's a big contrast to here we often use Articulate Storyline, which is a very good tool, but it doesn't protect you at all if one person's editing the project and then someone else can just try to go in there and they don't even know the other person's in the project but messes it up.
That still is with like everything with videos and that you still don't trust it. You would still keep your own snapshot or copy before people started on it, because I never trust, and no matter who it is, and even myself, if I've done a project and do a major change, I'm going to do a major change. I will have saved out before I've started what I'll do, because if you want to experiment, you want to have that freedom to mess it up and just say, okay, I've just lost today. I haven't lost the whole thing. But if you just rely on somebody's going in and doing that, and then they mess it all up, you still got to have your backup.
Yeah, and that's why backups are important. So remember, people, always back up your projects. Usually, project files are not that big, also, so that it's not a huge storage issue. Just back up your projects every day.
Because some people have a tendency to think they're in your Premiere Pro or Final Cut or whatever, and they tend to think, every one I'm doing, it's a 50 megabyte file or something, or 500 megabyte file, and each time I hit save, it's going to, that's another 500. So, well, no, they're not backing up. The footage is already there on the drive. The only time sometimes if you decide, like on Final Cut, you can decide to don't leave the media in place and have that copied in, that media. Or I can hear somebody's alarm going off outside. But as I said, you can
through on this end, so
you can have either have it in place, or you can have each project have all that footage, which some people, that might be a backup in itself as well. But then if you do. But then that's where you do with the Final Cut, do a snapshot of what it is you see. So,
yeah, and yes, as you were saying earlier, most project files for nonlinear editors are just XML based, so it's basically just a bit of script in there, and that's about it. Or a markup rather.
Well, I don't know if you use Premiere Pro, but if you use Premiere Pro, I've got tons there, because every time you seem to open it up, they've upgraded the
it puts the little _1.
yeah. So you've got tons of them without even figuring it, because every time I'm upgrading it to the latest version or something on that, and you think, oh goodness, here we go again. So.
Hey, before the show, you were showing that you had you had some of your workflow with your editing for like your bat video and stuff. Did you want to show that?
Oh well, I said I've got it there. Here's my Davinci Resolve that I had in there with when I was just putting something in together on that. Nothing fantastic on there, but as I said, it's just the shot there with that green there. It looked a bit dull when I had it in there in the original one. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it comes up. So that's with it out. Can you see with it off? See?
Yeah, we can see that.
They said that's how the original one was, but it said it didn't. It looked more like that, but it makes such a difference. But as I said, you just got to do subtle sort of differences on that there. So, but I still just like the way it just goes in there just for the normal audio, and that just. As I said, I'm still just getting in. I've just gone back into that. But what I do like is because you've just got for somebody who's starting out as well and just struggling with, when you go to Premiere, they might be struggling. Where do I go for that? They've got all the different things like in order to do that. I still don't understand. They've got this, this little cut, which is a shorter one, where instead of you moving the timeline moves on that, and it's good for doing quick cuts and that on there. But I suppose if you've never used one before, it can be quite easy and quick. But when you start used to the other ones, you get a bit confused and they think, I'll go back to the normal.
And that's called they call that the cut page, right?
Yeah, they call that the cut page there.
Yeah,
so,
I haven't really used that yet too much. I guess it's possible that if I got used to it, I could be faster with it than the edit. But I still feel like I'm fast on the edit one, and I just don't see the need to.
No, and that's exactly what I thought. It probably does do. I've seen some people. I thought, gee, that does it really good. And one of the things that I think it's over here where you see where you append and you just put something in and puts it to the end of your project on there. I like that but in the edit, when you're in here, you don't have that here. What you've got to do on that is when you drag something into, from there into that, then you've got to then you can place it over there, do the append. And I like to have a button or a shortcut to do it. And I haven't found out how you can do that by a shortcut, because that's what I've been used to in all the others. You just,
right. Like Final Cut's really easy to just, I forget, what's the shortcut for that though? It was
E, I think, Command E, I think it is. I think it is. Oh, not just E. I think it's just E on that, and that's what that pens right to the end, and I find that really good on that. But as I said, it's just all these different things. But I would have thought they would have had that in this side, because this is the main screen for that. So, but and then the fusion side for your effects on that. So I haven't done anything, but the main thing you've just got to get used to is this is the input in part, and that's the output. And what have I done to it? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
so that's what it is. But then
gone
these
straight
things,
in and out.
And these things, if you just press one, it goes into the one viewer. If you press, and then that's where it's that little dot there. It says it's into the second viewer. So whatever you're clicking on, that's what's showing on there. So if you let's see if I can remember what's this one here. Okay. So I'm just doing a different background on there. But if so now I've thrown the background over that. So that's what it's showing there. You see. So, but you've got to get used to the different things on that, on how to do the opacity down, do the different things on that, make it different. So the different widths on that to do your different sizes. But you've just got to get used to understanding nodes and different things on that. I still haven't quite got into that yet. So you've got to merge things onto that. So.
And you can do some really interesting and complex stuff with the nodes, but I don't know. I tend to find that doing stuff with the nodes in here, it's maybe I'm just not neat enough, but I always end up with like really messy looking nodes with like 30, and they're like all over the place. And
well, the thing is, you can put them anywhere. It's just you generally want to have something like that, on this one, and it'd say, okay, do the output on that one. So I'd see if I can. Oh yeah, did I do that one? I don't know. If you see, I'm still learning. It's got on there. If you put it onto, is it on here? I can't remember.
The blue one's for mask or alpha or something like that, I think.
What I get confused with as well is still getting into it is just which side do you put it on, or do you just drop it? And if you drop some on the top there, it creates a merge node somewhere along the line some of the time. So, but it's just getting like if you put that there, it does something. Are you sure you want to replace it? Yeah, but I'm replacing that there, but I'm still in infancy on that. So I'll put me fast noise on that, so that's got onto that. So you can it's working on the different things. So now I've got now I've got the fog happening in the the thing. But then you can animate it. That's a great thing with that. Then you can just put the animator to make it look like fog, and it's quite easy once you get used to using that a little bit anyway. So, but that's what I've got to get used to is how to use it more, and that in there, increasing the blend on that, so you can make it more natural, and that's but it's just doing it then the different. Oh, that's the angle of the different one on there, but don't want to change that. But you can keyframe all of them. There's so much you can do on that, but it's just getting to used to using that. So
yeah. How do you feel about the keyframes in Davinci Resolve? Like doing keyframes, for example, for color correction and for fusion effects and that sort of thing.
Well, the keyframes, okay. I've done a little bit with little titles, and I find that okay to do that. But it's like what you said. Once you get used to it, like I'm used to Final Cut a bit better, and then, but also as well, like when I use Premiere, I like Premiere better when you've got fiddly things to do.
Yeah,
I don't know about you.
I feel, I think you're right, because I feel like with the way their keyframe interface is, sometimes when you have a lot of things going on, then Resolve can it gets a little messy or crowded. Like if you have for example, doing color correction, if you have a lot of masks, then you have to go through the menu and you have to find which mask it is, and you have to make sure you have the right, the right keyframe timeline selected and stuff like that. I guess it does.
Yeah, I was going to say, I suppose it's like everything. Like, some people, you'll look at After Effects and you get blown away into that's just too complicated. But then people who have been using it for a while say, no, it's quite straightforward.
Yeah.
And then you just alter that.
I would say with effects, I do find After Effects a little more intuitive and straightforward, because, the layer stuff, it just intuitively makes sense. The one that's on top is the thing that's going to show over the one on the bottom kind of thing. But
I suppose then After Effects, that's sort of, it's a freestanding thing which is got more than the whole of the editing package put into that, because it just does, and that's why it is probably the most popular, because if you're really into it, but it's like we were saying before, this was as a free version, and that what do you want to do? If I'm doing a motion picture, well, you'll use everything at your resources, and you'll be doing these, 50,000 timeline, all these different things on that, and you've got a group of 500 people doing it for you as well, each one doing their own.
The thing is, there are really good free tools out there nowadays. Like, do you know the Blender project, the 3D modeling software Blender?
I've heard of that.
It's a free 3D modeling software, and it's really good. It's gotten a lot better recently, and actually some studios have been using it to do their visual effects and stuff. Like I think all of the effects, or at least most of the effects in the series The Man in the High Tower, or is it Man? Yes. Were done in Blender.
High Castle.
High Castle. The Man in the High Castle. Yeah, they did their effects just in Blender, and the stuff looks good.
Oh, I bet you we've got that time now already.
Oh yeah, we have. So yeah.
soon get carried away when you're talking about video editing and that. But as I said, don't take my word for it. I'm just a raw amateur doing it myself and enjoying it. But as I said, the professional probably have totally different opinions of it. So,
well, but I think there is value in this for people because other people trying to get into stuff. I think it's helpful to have the perspective of people like us who are getting into these things also, but trying out a lot of different things and seeing what's easier to get into, what works for us, and what doesn't work about it.
The thing is with Davinci Resolve, now you've got no excuse because you can say, I don't have to pay for something. But it's nice and easy enough if you want it to be. You can just say, just go to media. That's where you import your things. Go on the edit or cut, put your things together, and go to the end where it's to deliver set up to YouTube. If you don't want to do anything else, you don't have to get into the color. You don't have to get into the sound. But as I said, you've got the basic video, for which you never used to have that on a Windows machine anyway, did you? Like the Macs have always had like an iMovie, but now I think Windows 10 has the media player. Does it? The Windows 10 have a free player nowadays? I think.
Well, they have a free player, but as far as like for editing stuff, like previous versions of Windows had Windows Movie Maker, but that thing was a bit of a
well, that's
not terribly useful.
Everybody's got the opportunity now to which that's what's really, and I think that really opened up for Windows as well. Like Mac's always had that story. Oh, we've got this free thing, and some people went to the Mac just for that. Yeah, and there's and they really didn't want to. Whereas now they've got this to do that, and I think it's just for something. I just still can't understand how they can do that. Put this out and let it for free. So they must be doing something enough with their cameras and all their other bits and pieces, and people are buying it. So, and I suppose it's like that. There's a lot of us talking and using video editing, but in the scheme of things in the world, there's probably not a huge amount of people doing it. But there's all these people on YouTube. Yeah, but they're compared to the greater part.
And I think there is something smart about giving one part of their Blackmagic design ecosystem out essentially for free. That means that there's going to be a lot of people that are up and coming that are going to know this because it's free. Yes. They'll learn using that, so they'll have a lot of people going into the industry that are trained in their stuff, not the other guy's stuff, kind of thing. That's actually
and that's exactly what Microsoft did in the early days, didn't they? They gave it to students for free and everything. So and then everybody's learning Excel, Word, and there's nothing. Well, now if you want a spreadsheet, there's nothing else, is there? You don't learn anything. It's Excel. That's it. The result.
I think that's part of why the software I was talking about, Blender, has gotten bigger too, because how many students were able to afford I don't know, I think it's like 10 grand or something for a copy of Autodesk Maya to learn that, compared to having something that's free and you can just get into it and you start learning it without having to pay a huge amount of money. So now you have a lot more people out there that know this free program and that sort of thing.
And the thing is, in the early days, in the early days, I think you always get an illegal copy to learn and do on that. Yeah. But even then, when you learned it, there was nowhere for you to output your content for people to see it anywhere
That's true.
Upset anybody. Whereas now, if you get something illegal, and then they put their stuff out on Facebook and all that. People know you've got it, and you will get caught. There'll be things going around there because people will know how you've used that as well. But I said in the early days, your edits and all that, there was only you and the family used to see it. Yeah, so there was nobody else.
So, people out there, if you're interested in video editing and you haven't done it yet, then you have no excuse anymore. You got to go get Davinci Resolve, get something, and just start doing it.
It's such fun. It's just, I think it's just as much fun as filming the things in the first place. But then it actually gets you into, because once you're into that, if you know that the next time you go out filming, you'll say, I'll film this for the edit. And it makes it much, much easier if you go out and know what you're filming, right? Yeah. And you say, oh, I've got to have a cutaway shot for this because I want to show that. And so you'll take a bit more footage because you say, oh, I might need that. Oh, that's not got nothing to do with what, but I might be able to incorporate that in something else.
Yeah, or, I know I'll need about 10 B-roll shots, so I'll take 40 so I'll have options.
It just help you because when you know how you're going to put it together, you say, oh, well, I'll need a steady shot here. I need just it not moving so I can do something else in that. So it does help you with your filming. Anyway.
All right. Well, hopefully that was helpful, just given our experiences on video editing and what's out there nowadays. And hey, we'll see you next time on Tech Down Over.
Okay, bye for now.